So you'll hear us from time to time, and throughout the process we've started using a phrase, trying to capture what we're doing here as a nod to the past and an eye to the future. And that's really the best way we've come up with to encapsulate the idea that while we're creating a space that supports a learner who's very different than the learner that entered the doors of Bradfield Elementary School in 1926, the building itself still pays honor to that history and to that tradition and the certain aesthetic expectation that comes with that in the park cities. So what's exciting about the process and thinking of it as a nod to the past, honoring the past, but with an eye to the future is, while the buildings themselves may look like they very well could have been a part of a time and an era that's gone, the reality is what's happening inside the space is state-of-the-art. It honors the other tradition of Highland Park schools, which is excellence. Highland Park schools have always been excellent. And so it's exciting to see a possibility to honor that past in a building that's suited to the neighborhood, suited to the community, and resonates with the community, but also is doing the same thing you've been doing for 101 years now, which is delivering excellent education. It's what you're known for. Bradfield's a unique opportunity. Informing Bradfield is the immediate neighborhood. We've said our approach is to look at the local context, and Bradfield has a rich architectural context around it. And so in looking at Bradfield, we're looking at things like the Loma Linda gates, the walls that define the neighborhood, the Highland Park Town Hall, even the village shops. Very interesting architecture. Actually, the Highland Park Town Hall is designed by the same architects who designed Bradfield Elementary School. So you see even some of the same elements of sort of a Spanish colonial style. And so looking at that and responding to that, what we're thinking for Bradfield Elementary School as we begin the design process is something that responds to that and gives us a chance to scale down Bradfield using some of those elements. So you'll see at Bradfield a very scaled down front entry. While these are large buildings, it's a goal of ours to make sure that they respond appropriately to the neighborhood that they're in. We're trying to be respectful to Southern Avenue, the street on which Bradfield fronts directly. And so our response is sort of a Spanish colonial style, but if you look very closely at the imagery, we've started to suggest what we've heard from people. Could you save part of the stone? Could you reuse part of the building? And so you'll see a small entry tower to the left side that really defines the administrative space and helps to define entry, but it also gives you an opportunity to take the cast stone that's around the current front door and recreate that, literally, either move or recreate that piece on that entry tower. So again, with a nod to the past, but still in a future design context, we think it's a subtle response that allows you to scale the front entry and respond to the neighborhood in an appropriate scale in an appropriate way. So Hyer Elementary is a little different than the other two that we're considering because it has a very residential, quaint scale to it. We hear the word quaint a lot when people give us feedback on Hyer. So Hyer's response is different. Hyer's response is trying to stay with a more residential scale. The challenge being, Hyer is obviously going from a one-story building to a two-story building to fit this building on the side and honor the green space. And so Hyer is more of a Georgian style response because it's a little better suited to the neighborhood. When we again look at the architectural context around Hyer and really the expectations of Hyer, something very familiar, more of a neighborhood context and a neighborhood scale. And so what you're seeing as a response, it's a very simple red brick form, very similar to what you've seen in the past, and very well suited for the neighborhood that's around it, we think. What's especially exciting about the Hyer approach also is this sort of gracious front yard that everybody identifies with Hyer is allowed to be retained. The imagery you're seeing, actually the front door is no closer to the street than the current Hyer front door is, allowing us more front yard, but by compaction, by bringing the plan into a two-story plan, we actually gain a considerable amount of green space on the eastern side of the site as well. So the play fields are allowed to expand. That can be regained for either hard surface play, it can be play space, or again, it could be that outdoor learning space that we've talked about. So there's exciting potential at Hyer to regain that space and make better use of the site. UP's context is a whole other challenge than the other two, and it's equally exciting. University Park Elementary School is the school in the community that fronts onto a major street. And that's an observation well made by one of the committee members that we sought input from. And so we've tried very much to respond to that connection that University Park Elementary has always had to Curtis Park. The green space between Curtis Park and the school have always been connected in the community's mind, and we really wanted to honor that and allow that space to stay the same. But also, when we think about University Park Elementary School, it is a very commanding building from the street already. It commands your attention, has this gracious front yard, and it feels very much a statement of education in Highland Park ISD. And so the goal with the direction of the replacement University Park Elementary School is to honor that and improve upon that and set this building up as the example of education for Highland Park ISD. You'll see elements in the rendering of the small cast stone panels that are on the current building that are between the windows on the first and second floor. And our goal would be to take some of those panels and be able to reuse those in elegant places on the facade of the building as well. Again, honoring the past and the tradition and being able to reuse that in a new context. The Park Cities is a unique culture. It really is, and it's an exciting place to work. And what I love about it, what our firm loves about it, is frankly the engagement. Your parents, your staff, your community care passionately about your schools, both the literal school itself, the bricks and mortar, and what happens inside them. And so the process is going to be better for that. We're not at the end result yet, but we're in the process of coming to those and casting a vision for the direction. And so I think that's exciting. But what I think is more exciting is knowing that this process has really just started and that there's so much input to be sought as we move forward in all of these designs. Our goal is to create an exciting learning space for students that the community loves. One walk-up. These buildings need to be a part, and my goal would be that 80 years from now, these buildings are as venerated and respected as the ones we're talking about today. But also that students inside those spaces love coming to school there. They love coming to that building, not only for the outside, but for what it offers in purposeful green space, places to explore, to do science classes outside, to do innovative things inside the building. That's really our goal, and that's our passion. And we look forward to the opportunity to work with the committees to finish that out as we move forward. This is just the first step. It's an exciting one, but there's so much more work to be done that we are actively seeking the community's involvement as we move forward.